Yes, sir.
Welcome to Hollering at the Screen. I'm Jay Gregg, screenwriter and screenwriting professor. I'm all about story, structure, and the lessons behind what works and what doesn't.
And I'm Essex O'Brien. I'm the actor. I'm all about what hits, what misses, and what should have stayed on the cutting room floor.
Yep. And together we bring that audience energy, the laughs, the yells, and the hollers.
Because if it's fire, we holler.
And if it's not,
this is Hollering at the Screen.
Okay. So Essex, I'm so glad that we finally decided to do this. We both love film. We're involved in film, and it just seems like a natural, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we both have a wealth of knowledge. We've both been in the game for a long time. We've been fans of the game for a long time, going back to the 80s and 90s, and keep going. We probably watched thousands of films between the two of us, so it's only right that we add our voices to the space.
And we have become those folks that now almost ruin films for other people when we're talking about it. so we are here to now ruin film for you. So the first film that we're going to talk about is the adaptation of The Long Walk from Stephen King. Crazy about this is that I didn't realize that he went by a pseudonym when he wrote this. Like he went by another name.
Neither did I.
That was crazy.
When I first heard that this film was coming out, I immediately went and ordered the book from Amazon, and because I wanted to make sure I read it first before I saw the movie. This is one of those few movies that I wanted to do that with, and I did not disappoint, and I'm glad that I did.
Well, yeah. I'm glad you read it because I have not read it, so we can get an idea from you about what changed, what stayed in the book and stuff like that. So we both had a chance to review it or watch it before it even came out. So what were your thoughts about it initially? Like, how different is the film from the book?
It's very different, but at the same time, it's not. The core of it. Here we go. See, I'm quick on my feet.
You go.
So the core of it is, and they did a great job of accomplishing that in the film. The core of the film, of the book, is in the film, but they did make some changes that some people might see as significant. For example, in the book, they start out with 100 boys, whereas in the film, it's 50 boys. And then, of course, the big change that everybody knows about, in the book, it's 4 miles an hour. You have to keep a pace of 4 miles an hour throughout the entire thing, or then you start getting the warnings and the tickets. But they made the change to 3 miles an hour. And this is why I was so excited about it, because typical Stephen King, a lot of the horror is horror of the mind.
It's psychological horror, right?
Yeah. Imagine having to walk that fast without breaks, without stopping to eat. They give you
Gatorade, no electrolytes, no bananas,
none of that, and just having to do it until everybody else is gone. Can you imagine how brutal that is? Especially if you would have kept it at 4 miles an hour. That's basically like a power walk.
That's speed walking. That's like mall walking.
That's brutal. So that
they went like 300 miles or something.
Oh my God. I don't even know if we want to get into that right now, but yes, once you start, my feet gonna start hurting after about 3 miles. I can't imagine.
My feet were hurting just watching the daggone film. I'm telling you, this is crazy. I was very excited to watch it because I'm a Stephen King fan. Yeah. But unfortunately, again, I never read the book. So, listening to, people, do the comparisons was wild because, as a screenwriting professor, also, I always hear students say the book was so much better than the film. But I'm getting mixed reviews about this. People are saying, the filmmaker, Francis Lawrence, did a great job with adapting it.
Yeah. So you heard people say they didn't like it?
I did hear a couple people say they didn't like it, but again, it's because they just love the novel more than the book. But I really enjoyed the film for what it was.
I don't know if they're thinking about the difficulty of taking. First of all, you're taking a novel that might take you, you know, depending on how much time you got, a day, maybe a few days to finish, and you got to put it into a 2 hour, maybe what was it, 2:15, 2 hour,
yeah,
15-minute movie. So some of the stuff they did, like I said, shrinking it from 100 to 50, that makes sense because it's a lot of people to kill.
yeah.
And it's
like,
a lot of also
watch this dude die.
Yeah, and a lot of subplots you got to try to tie together. I thought they did a good job. For example, certain characters they kind of mixed into one, and others they just
together.
Took apart. And you know, I know we're trying to kind of review the film, we're kind of all over the place, but there was just certain things you can't do, and so of course it's not going to give you that extended journey that the book does. But for what they for the core of what the film, and I'm sorry, for the core of what the book does from a psychological standpoint, from a brutality standpoint, they didn't leave anything off the table that unless you're just a glutton. You're just a glutton for gore and drama. Like, how long did you want to what you want this to be, like Lord of the Rings? Like,
it was a lot of stuff I didn't expect to see in there. And I think he did a great job with cutting out the interiority. But what I will say, it's called The Long Walk, but it could also be called The Long Talk, because it was like, but they had to do it that way. A lot of stuff had to be explained because it was just them on a road for like 300 and something miles.
Yeah, over the course of 5 days.
So let's talk about some of the characters. Like, okay, so the main character is Ray McGarity, right?
Ray Garrity, yeah.
Yeah, Ray, yeah. So he shows up. Well, he, initially signed up to go on this long walk. And let's talk about what the long walk is. So it's I guess this competition that happens every year where people get to watch men. It was 100 men in the book. Now it's 50 men. Watch these men.
You really should say boys. Yeah, everybody was pretty much like under 18.
Yeah. And we just watch them walk until there's only one left. And, they get 3 warnings if they go below the 3 miles per hour speed limit.
Yeah. And I think it's important to also say this kind of takes place in a dystopian type of future where there's been some kind of big war and America is at its knees, basically. There's poverty everywhere. And so these boys are basically, the whole nation can volunteer. And it's kind of touched on in the book that they're volunteering, but they're really not. And then they get chosen by a lottery. And the propaganda of it is this is going to inspire the world, inspire America to get back on its feet through bravery and courage and all that yada yada stuff. So these boys are, and you learn this through the course of the film, these boys kind of feel like they have no other place to go. It's an act of desperation because the winner, the last person standing, they get anything they want.
Right.
Untold riches and a wish that has to be granted. And so these kids who are coming from all these, terrible backgrounds and terrible situations, they join into this thing. So that's kind of that's important because you got to know, why would anybody do this, right?
So in this film now, we focus on a core group, and at one point in the film they kind of called themselves the 3 or the 4 Musketeers. But you have Ray, you have Peter, his good friend. Well, he becomes his good friend in there. Then you have Olsen, Baker, and then is it Stebbins? Stebbins. And then Stebbins. So tell me this, in the book, because this seemed to be a very racially diverse cast.
Yeah.
Did it mention the races in the book?
It doesn't get specific. It doesn't get specific. You kind of have to fill in your own things based on how they talk about their backgrounds, but it is not very descriptive. Certain times there are points where they'll point out a person's race, but he's not always a central character. Like they might just say, an Asian guy or something like that. But for the main characters, they didn't really get too deep into it. And I'll tell you another little difference too. Stebbins isn't initially a part of the Musketeers like he is in the movie. So they kind of switch that up a little bit. Stebbins has a different sort of arc, and I don't want to give it away for people who
okay. All right, good.
But yeah, but in the movie, yes, that's the crew right there, the Musketeers.
Yeah. So we got Ray, who's the main character. We have Peter, who is becomes his best friend and almost like a mentor, because when we come into the story, Ray is dealing with something, and we have a feeling that he has a want, but we don't know what that want is, going into it. But we just know that he wants to be in this war, and his mom is like, yo, you don't have to do this. But he's feeling like, no, I've got to do this. And I think that's what brings the audience in. Like, why is he doing this if he doesn't have to?
Yeah.
And then you meet all these other guys, these boys, who we find out what their reasons are for doing it, except for Peter. Peter reveals his later on, right?
Yeah.
I think, Peter becomes his best friend, along this journey. And Peter is a black guy. A black guy in here. And, at one point I was like, oh God, I hope this isn't going to be a magical Negro moment.
That's exactly what it's going to be.
Yeah, where the black guy is always trying to, give hope to the white guy. But no. And then we have Olsen, who is Asian. And then you have Baker, who's black. And then you have Stebbins, who is white. And looking at this, and honestly, I couldn't help but think that this is like, this is almost like throwback to the Vietnam War. Like, there were so many themes and messages in here about war, about brotherhood, about, sacrifice, and, saving yourself. Like, it was a really deeply moving film that spoke to a lot.
This was kind of Stephen King talking about the Vietnam War, what I mean? And sort of like how those experiences would shape those young men who went over there and had to, deal with those type of things. So it's kind of like an allegory for that, for those people who had to deal with that. But and yeah, that was the underlying drama behind it. And this is where the cast really comes into play. Because these are basically total strangers that along this crazy journey where they know they're going to see probably each other die, they still come together and try to help each other. They still try to bond. It doesn't turn into, you would think it would turn into this cutthroat, every man for himself type of situation, but it doesn't. And you see these bonds form. You see them pulling for each other, and it really, brings out the good side of the human emotions on that part.
Yeah. Speaking of the characters, how did you feel about the performances from Raymond Hoffman? I'm sorry, not Raymond Hoffman. Cooper Hoffman, who played Ray Garrity, and Peter is it McVries? Is it Peter McVries?
Peter McVries is the character.
Is the character.
I'm trying to look up his.
Played by David Johnson. Yeah, it was played by David Johnson. How'd you feel about their acting?
Both guys are great actors. I always joke about these British actors coming over here doing these accents. But no, the performances were spot on. The only thing I would maybe nitpick, and this is probably just something that was maybe difficult to do, the physical transformation that takes place and is described in the book. I don't think they accomplished that as well. And I know that probably is difficult. It's hard to shave weight off of somebody. And I know you let the facial hair grow in and stuff like that. But if you're talking about walking
300 miles
for over 300 miles over the course of 5 days, no sleep, no breaks, no real food. They give them like these little concentrated packets of meat and then water. The physical transformation probably wasn't realistic to kind of pull off. If it was, it kind of didn't do it. I also didn't hear it in the voice, because they didn't really show to me how tired they should have been towards the end of it. But as far as the relationships, as far as the emotions, I did think they did a good job. But I might be nitpicking a little bit, but that to me was something that I felt like should have been more of a focus into capturing just the brutality of that, because by the end of towards the end of the walk, when it's down to like the last final 4 or 5, you're pretty much talking about walking corpses, like damn near, you know what I mean?
Walking Dead,
like,
yeah,
they're
but
really
not
the
just by
walking
zombies
dead.
though.
Yes,
Yeah.
So I felt they could have done a better job with that, but other than that, I don't have any complaints.
Okay. I as a screenwriter, I really enjoyed the character arc of Ray Garrity, and then the surprise arc of Peter. I think
Yeah.
when we talk about the wants, of a character, there has to be some motivation. Like, what is the motivation for Ray to get involved in this damn walk when he doesn't have to? And then we later find out what his want is, and I don't want to spoil it, but people who have read the book, what the want is. And then you find out later on that it's really more of a need, and I can spoil the need because it's just, it's simple. He needs healing. He needs to heal from the fact that his dad died and the manner that he died, So I love watching that. And then I loved also watching Peter be a supporting character. And he was really there. Peter's role is to really just kind of shine that light onto Ray. He didn't take anything away from him, but he showed him how to transform, take that internal struggle and transform. And I love that.
He was definitely the magical Negro. Let's go ahead and
he was a little magic. He was a little magic.
Because we see it in these movies all the time that the main character, is a white guy or gal, and then there's always this black person, or usually it's a woman, that's the conscious and the voice of the conscious of what we hope society would be, right? We see this all the time. They're usually like a sidekick or like, the nurturing grandmother, auntie type. So that's very much what Peter McVries is in this, and basically keeps them together. And in the book he saves Garrity's life way more times than they did in the book. And then Garrity Garrity kind of goes back and forth. He's like, hey, no, I got to do it for me. I got to do it for my family. I got to do it for this and that. And then he actually takes on McVries' attitude, and now he's saving people, and he's saving people. And now they're more all for one for all, which was Peter McVries' thing in the first place. So it does carry that little thing where we're teaching you guys how to be good people. So it's hilarious. And we all we're all looking at each other in the theater like, you see it, right? Yeah, you see it. Oh yeah, I see it. So man, as a screenwriter, producer, however you want to say it, which part made you holler at the screen?
What made me holler at the screen? Honestly, probably the violence, because I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting to see that type of violence. Not only the violence, but also like, hey, they had to walk so many miles, and when you got to go to the bathroom, you got to go to the bathroom. It's like. So I was like, what? I was like, what? Watch where you stepping, But I was hollering at the screen at that, hollering at the screen at, how, they were there for each other. I love the character of Olsen,
Olsen was,
the Asian character. He was funny. Plenty of times I was hollering at him. What about you? What parts did you holler at?
Oh man, the first thing that comes to mind is when the Native American brother tries to like kind of do a revolt, and instead of just shooting everybody,
he
grabs a gun, he shoots this one soldier, and I don't know, maybe we should have described that, but in order to keep everybody in line, they're basically being followed by armed troops. There's a tank. Matter of fact, there's a tank walking with them, and all these armed troops. So he goes and attacks one troop, shoots them up. And instead of just spraying everybody down,
spray down.
He does this little war cry and tries to tell everybody, "Let's get him!" And pop.
Because he should have been like, "Everybody gonna get it. Everybody can get it."
For me, it was like that point in all horror movies where you'd be like, "No, bitch!" Like,
you're right.
You tell him, like, why would you do that?
Get everybody.
Why the fuck would you just not shoot everybody when you got the drop on them? Instead of doing this, Bruh, you could have saved everybody. And then, of
Yeah.
course, he got his ass pow.
Yeah. And, you know,
That was my moment.
And you know, and the big antagonist here was, of course, you know, the Major. Everybody knows the Major is in the book, so we're not giving any spoilers.
Oh, and you know what?
But the walk itself was like the antagonist.
Major's role was expanded, by the way, from the book. His role was.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he was not as present in the book as he is in the film, which I like. I like that change. That was a good change because, like you say, now we have more. We have an antagonist to go along with just the straight up brutality of what they're putting these kids through.
Yes.
I really liked what they did. And they gave them like somebody else to hate, somebody else to be like, nah, I want to win. I want to win this so I can stick it to the Major.
Because they had to put a face to, you know, the antagonist, to the walk. Yeah. He is like the face of the walk.
Yeah. Played by Mark Hamill of Star Wars and the Joker fame.
Could not believe that was Mark Hamill.
Yeah, Mark Hamill's a pretty good actor, man. People he's never going to outgrow Luke Skywalker.
No, he won't.
But he has a legendary career even without the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
You're Batman, the animated series, you know all about Mark Hamill and his voice. Doing the Joker. He has an iconic Joker voice.
He does, man. It was great. So tell me this. So, you know, we're coming to the end of it here. So, you know, what do you think about the film? Would you tell people to go holler at the screen or no?
Man, take your butt in there and holler at the screen. Enjoy the ride. This is one of those movies, like I say, especially if you're a horror fan of and you're not, it's not just about the gore and the violence, but just the
psychological horror. Yeah.
To me, every time they showed the mile marker and the day of where they were, I just was like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Because like I say, I can't imagine, bro. I can't imagine. And, you know,
man,
I like to carry around a little water bottle. I can't imagine being that thirsty.
Dude, I was in the military and had to go on those road marches. And, you know, I did like 12-mile road marches through water and stuff. I couldn't imagine having to go on a road march for like 300 miles to get some money. Yeah. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. And let me say this too. There's also, you know, there's the political commentary in there. That's what's funny is it matches up perfectly to today's time.
It does.
And this was something that was written in the 70s. Yeah. And it's like he's like seeing the future because basically what causes all this is you got this authoritarian type of government that's got everybody at war. The economy's been crashed. We're seeing the signs of that right now. You can see how we're devolving in society. And then, of course, I think we need to restate this. This is a show. This is a reality show that is being filmed continuously and streamed continuously. Think about this now. He was thinking of this in the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a show that millions of people are watching and they're taking bets on who's going to win. They're at their crowds. In the book, their crowds throughout in different times. But in the movie, they just make the crowd
just sprinkled in. Yeah.
And even though they know all these kids have been gunned down, they're there cheering.
Yeah, and it shows how we as a society have become desensitized to murder.
But yeah, so I thought that was very important too. So for people who want to go and holler at the screen, you're gonna go holler at the screen, but you also gonna go on thinking like, is this our future for real? Like this could really, we're seeing stuff now that we back in 20, 30 years ago, we'd be like, we would never see that. And we've seen it.
Yeah. They showed us an alternate America that actually matches up pretty closely with the America that we're living through. So yeah, folks, go holler at the screen. You know, I think it's in theater September 12th. Right. Yeah, across the country. And hey, tell them holler at the screen sent you.
You know it.
Yep. Any final words, Essex?
Okay, one last thing. What would you have changed as a writer or producer that you would have liked to see in the film?
Good question. What would I have changed as let's see. They did like 2 flashbacks. And I'm pretty much of the thought that if you're going to do a flashback, it has to be to give me some information that I can't get along, within the story.
Okay.
And they just gave us kind of 2 quick flashbacks.
They show what happened to the dad, right?
About what happened to the dad.
Yeah.
But I would have, I probably would have enjoyed a few more flashbacks to get us off the road.
Okay.
Or dream sequences, to show us, exactly what he, was going through. And not only him, maybe even some of the other characters also, because again, everything, it was just so much exposition, but I understand why, because they are on a long walk.
Yeah.
And, they can't go anywhere else. So, that's about it. Probably, a few more flashbacks to give me, a little bit more backstory. I love backstory.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. What about you?
So the ending of the book is totally different than the ending in the movie.
Yes, I've heard.
Which I'm cool with. But the same thing I didn't like about the ending in the book, I didn't like about the ending in the movie. And I'm the type of person I either like you to lead me to knowing that there's some more coming, or just go ahead and wrap this shit up for me and give me a satisfying ending.
Yeah. Because
I don't think there's a part 2 to be made about something like this. So go ahead and give me, just go ahead and that either does he live or does he die? At least give me that. Does he live or does he die? So I can go ahead and just be done with this shit and just give me a little more satisfying ending. I'm not a big fan of the open-ended and big, I didn't like the Sopranos shit. I'm that type of person. Don't just be cutting me off and don't give me no more and wrap it up. You know what I mean? Just go ahead and satisfy me. I paid my money. I bought satisfy me, and then we good. So that's probably the only
Don't
thing.
have me looking around like what?
Like what the hell? What's he gonna have? What's he gonna do?
Yep. I can see that. Okay. All right. Well, hey, this has been the first episode of Holla at the Screen. We hope you've enjoyed this. If there are any other films, TV shows, or anything you want us to review, please, shoot that information to us. You have our handles right here. Let us know. We'll get on it.
Yep. And when you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe. You're watching this on our social page, make sure to share, like it, and put it on your story and all that good stuff. Help us out. Let's build this up,
Send it to your mama, send it to your baby mama, send it to everybody.
That's what's up.
We out.